Hello everyone, Quinnell here, and gonna be going over the armory, and basically its two main functions in Monster Hunter Wilds. We're gonna be going over forging and upgrading. So if we go to Gem of the Smithy and pop on in, we're gonna be mainly going over weapons and armor, and just kind of a brief overview, just because I know there's Monster Hunter in general is, though very fun, I can tell the menus and such are a little bit confusing and can get a little bit, can be a lot. It is simplified compared to the previous games a little bit, so we'll go over the basics. So if we're going to forge weapons, first things first, regardless of what weapon you choose, the weapon trees are going to be different. So for example, if I pick the lance, and you see here that it has a Balahara tree, if I go to a different weapon, let's say the greatsword, and you look through, the Balahara tree does not exist anymore. So it's a lance specific, or at the very least, lance has it and greatsword doesn't. It's going to be the same idea that whenever we're going to be going through different upgrades, how things work is everything will be going along from left to right. If we start off with the Hope Blade, which is the first weapon, it requires ore to upgrade to level 2. And if you want to upgrade it again to level 3, it requires a higher level of ore, similar to the ore tree itself, just requiring more materials as it goes upwards. In terms of weapons and armor, both of them are the same. They can both forge and upgrade, though they do work differently. Weapon upgrading and armor upgrading are different. So again, we'll start with weapons just to give an example. So for example, if I click on the lance, you can see that we'll start off with forging. Everything that has a little symbol here on the top left of a weapon that has that blue hammer means that it is forgeable. I believe in other Monster Hunter games, if I was then going to forge this and then go down to the Rompopolo tree to create this other lance, I could take this lance and turn it into this lance, but that's not the case anymore. Now you can only upgrade things in a straight line. Only things that are connected by this gray line are things that are able to get upgraded from one to the other. So for example, if I go to something I haven't used before, let's go with dual blades. So there's like a bunch of different symbols that we'll be seeing. So like I said, the blue hammer is one that means that it is something that's on the forge list. So if I go to the forge list here, you can see the Hope Daggers 1 are on this list, as our Bone Hatchets 1. If I go back here, the Hope Daggers 1 and the Bone Hatchets 1 are both on here. They both have this blue hammer symbol. If I see this green symbol with two green arrows facing upwards, that means it is on the upgrade list. So if I go to the upgrade list, I can see Hope Daggers 2. It's the only one on there. That's the only one that's selectable. So let's say I do choose to upgrade my Hope Daggers 1 to Hope Daggers 2, and it goes through the animation to do so.
Perfection.
And I go back to the weapon tree, I can now see that the Hope Daggers 3 are something that is on the upgrade list. But there's other pathways that this can go down. So because I have the Hope Daggers 2, there's this dotted gray line that leads down into the dual hatchets. I cannot upgrade from the Hope Daggers 2 down to the dual hatchets 1. That is only something that is now available on the forge list because I'm able to do so. That's how forging and upgrading are different. I'm almost positive in previous Monster Hunter titles, if you're looking to upgrade something, you could do so by going down these titles, but now you can only go from left to right following a solid gray line. So these ones have little locks associated with them. That means that I simply do not have I don't have the weapon associated with reaching that point. So I don't have the Hope Daggers 3 yet, thus I'm locked out of the Twin Albaraths and the Guild Knight Sabers. So once I do upgrade to the Hope Daggers from here,
Alrighty. Perfection.
now you can see that these have little purple hammers on them. So that means that I have access to these items, but I do not have the materials associated with unlocking them. So if I did the same thing where I spent the materials to get the dual hatchets, I don't have the Hope Daggers anymore. but because I've reached the point in which it is connected by this dotted line, that means that I do now have access to it. So let's say the dual hatchets are now available, and I click them, and I'm able to forge them off the rip.
Perfection.
And so now I have a choice of upgrading the dual hatchets into dual hatchets 2 because they're connected by the gray line. But now because this is grayed out, that is a upgrade. It's a dotted line instead of it being a solid gray line. It means I can go to the Chthonian Kusaragames, holy crap, but I don't have the materials to be able to do so because it has things that I do not have. These are locked, and it's with a dotted gray line because it's something that I haven't achieved yet, but once I do have access to it and it's not locked and it becomes either with a hammer symbol or a grayed out hammer symbol, then I know that that's something that's accessible, and this dotted gray line will disappear. So that's the basics for, at the very least, forging and upgrading for weapons. There are different things associated with weapons that are their statistics. So every weapon will have an attack, an affinity, could be 0 or something else. It can have an element, it has different sharpness, it has decoration slots, and defense bonus. There are different weapons that have more upgrades or different stats associated with them. If we say go to a light bowgun, you can see that it shows ammunition. Or if we go to a gun lance, you can see that there's different type of shelling, but I won't be going into that much of a specific right now, just going over the basics. So from here, we can see that the chrome drill has 276 attack. This isn't the damage that you're going to be doing per swing. This is more so the damage that you'd be doing, or you should look at it as like a general damage number. If I compare the 276 from the chrome driller to a greatsword, you can see that the greatsword does 480, so a little less than half the damage that the lance would be doing. Is a reasonable example that one swing of the greatsword will do approximately twice as much damage as the lance would in that specific example. But if we do go back to lance, you can see that there are more statistics. So the next is affinity. So affinity, if you relate it to a different game or any other game, you could look at it as critical strike. The higher affinity you have, let's say this was plus 15%, that means for every attack I have a 15% chance to deal 25% bonus damage. Now this has a negative affinity, meaning I have a 15% chance to deal 25% less damage. Generally, you're going to be seeing affinity on weapons with a higher base attack, so you just, once in a while, you're going to get unlucky, or statistically, you're going to be getting the negative, but all in all, you'll have a larger, higher base, so usually it's okay. There's usually a trade-off with negative affinity as well. For example, this lance, it has a 20 defense bonus, while the affinity is also negative, so you'll be trading defense for offense. Next is an element. Elements are going to be playing a fairly large effect on whatever monster you're going to be fighting. I'll make another video in regards to going over elements and how they affect different monsters and which elements you should be using against which monsters. Not every single one, but just to show you where that information is available. But for now, know that different elements or different weapons are associated with different elements, and some have status effects and some just deal bonus damage. So it's something to keep an eye on whenever you're selecting different things. Generally, I wouldn't worry too much in the early game. If you have a weapon and you like the amount of damage it does and you think it looks cool, just go ahead and use it. It's really not going to be the end of the world if you happen to use an element that's with a certain enemy. But most of the time you're going to be fine. So I wouldn't freak out too much if you have an element that has the same element as a monster, but try to go with something that it's not the same as, and you're going to be crafting a bunch of different weapons all the time. So there's no harm in having that backup weapon available to us that you're able to swap to. Next is sharpness. Sharpness is a damage multiplier. So if you do, there are more sharpness than green. It goes higher and higher and higher. And the more sharpness you have, the more damage you're going to be able to deal. Plus, if you do not have enough sharpness, you won't be able to get through a monster's hide or like its defenses. You're going to be seeing a lot of things where if the more you attack and the more the sharpness goes down, if it goes down past yellow, generally to orange or red, you're going to notice that your attacks are going to be bouncing. So make sure to stay on top of sharpness because it's extremely important. Next are decoration slots. Weapons will have 0 to 3 decoration slots available. We won't go too much into decorations at the moment because those are going to be in regards to skills, and skills is another whole can of worms that I'm not going to be going into right now. We'll make another video speaking about skills, but these decoration slots right here, just know that they're good for allowing customization for your character and allows you to gain these different skills and to apply them to different weapons at will. So just adds customization. And we had already gone over defense bonuses, and that's basically all you're going to have to think about in terms of weapon, right? Next, we'll go over some armor.
What are we making today?
So comparatively, armor upgrading, and there's no tree in terms of forging armor for anything. Everything is just if you have the associated parts to it, you can make it. So for example, we'll start off with the Chupacabra, which is the first toad that you're going to be facing. There's going to be 2 lines here. There's like this circle line and this diamond line. None of these have any differences in terms of stats. The only thing that these offer are aesthetic differences. Back in the day when Monster Hunter, in the previous versions I should say, these were the male and female, the gender options in terms of armor. If you were a male character, you couldn't equip female armor. If you were a female hunter, you couldn't equip male armor. But they changed it so everything is interchangeable. So if you think that gloves or a belt or something looks better on with one model versus another, then you can swap them out at will and kind of have your character look the way you want them to.
Got something in mind?
In terms of forging, it's like I said, as simple as that. If I have the materials for it, you're able to forge them at will.
Alrighty, perfection.
The only thing that's different in terms of them is upgrading. So with weapons, if you want to upgrade something, you're going from one version to another. For this, if you're upgrading instead, you're going to be applying armor spheres. Armor spheres, I believe this was something that was given to everybody, but everyone should have gotten at the very least 100 armor spheres as I don't know if it was a beta thing or it's just everybody was given it. I'm pretty sure it should have been a global reward, so everyone should have at the very minimum 100 armor spheres, which are super useful for upgrading your gear, and it increases your base defenses. So you're able to, I wouldn't be worried at all about spending these. You're going to have plenty, and the higher level armor spheres will fill up this bar higher and higher to be able to get up to your defenses. So you can see that right now, this Chupacabra helm, I can get up to level 11, which offers or gives it up to 22 defense. So if I spend 13 of the regular armor spheres, I can get to 26 defense, and it's reached the max level. But if I use the higher level armor spheres, I would only need 3 of them to get to the same point. So once you're leveling up early on and you have access to armor spheres, which you won't at the very beginning, I think you have to get them around HR 3. So once you get to that point, you have access to armor spheres. I highly recommend using them. You're going to have plenty. You have plenty because of the free 100. To spend them. You're going to have a much easier time if you're struggling against monsters and something is kind of beating you up. Put on some armor spheres and don't be afraid to spend these. You have plenty. They gave you plenty, so take advantage of them and use them. Apart from that, the next thing that you can make would be Palico Gear.
What are we making today?
Palico Gear is, in my opinion, more aesthetic than anything. Just kind of pick things that look cool. If you have extra materials, they're generally not particularly expensive, and you're, like I said, basically just paying them just to make your Palico look different. So if you have something that looks nice and you're happy with it, then yeah, might as well just spend them up and get a little bit of extra defenses for your Palico. Palicos can't faint in combat, so they might get knocked out for a little bit, but they'll generally stand back up and they're good to go. I like this combination and having him be like a robo with a brain in a jar kind of thing, so it's entertaining. The only thing I would recommend, if anything, is if you're going to be applying a weapon, have something that has a statistic to it, or I should say an element. So, for example, mine has paralysis on their weapon. I can probably get one that's better by now. I haven't been keeping track of it, but you can go for sleep or you can go for poison. I'd say going for a status effect that can build up. You might get one state of paralysis on the monster from your feline attacking it. It's not a guarantee, but it happens once in a while, and if it's costs you barely anything, you might as well do so because you're going to benefit from it. Apart from that, another new feature is a wishlist system. So if you're able to go to any armor or weapon that you want, let's say I'm really looking to make these ingot pants, but I don't have a firestone ore yet. So if I'm on PC, I press R to go to my sub menu, then click add to wish list. Say yes. So it has this little symbol on the top right. That's how you know it's part of your wish list. Or let's say I want to make this ingot coil. So click that and add it to the wish list also. Cool, so now I have these two. If I then go to forge/upgrade from wish list, everything that was on there is now available on here. So these are two things that I don't have access to because I don't have the materials yet. If I wanted to, I now can upgrade or craft from this point. So let's say I wanted to now cast this ingot or create this ingot coil because I have it here. Craft it from here, and it's now off of my wish list. It's not there anymore, and I have all the materials, and now I have it crafted. Has a check mark beside it, meaning I have the required materials, but it's a nice little place just to be able to keep all of your potential upgrades all together, and kind of, if you see something that you really want, then it's a good idea to be able to have it there. Last thing that I'll discuss in terms of gear is weapons and armor generally have skills associated with them. The very, very early stuff will not, but you're gonna have them pretty much after the base gear. So, for example, on the bottom right here, you see that this equipment has windproof associated with it. There's a few different types of skill types. I'll make a different video for skills, and that'll go over decorations and skills, and also talismans as well, because all three of them are linked to one another. If you wanted to go to a piece of gear and you're curious to see what it did, you can, again, go to the sub menu. In this case, I press R, and I can click skill info, and it does show every single skill and everything that is associated with this skill. So this equipment gives me level 1 guard, which slightly decreases the impact of attacks and reduces stamina depletion by 15% when I'm guarding. So it's nice to accumulate these skills, and they're super important, and that's what builds are made from, or how you combine these different skills together. There's maybe one more thing to discuss. I think that might be everything. One other thing, there is both in the armor and weapon tree. Let's go to armor. If you press X, not sure what the button is for controller, but you're able to sort by criteria. So let's say I definitely want to, I'd say it's probably more useful on weapons than anything. So let's say I want to have something that's an element that is fire, because I keep fighting things that are ice-based, and I really want fire damage to be able to deal with them. I click on this, and now everything that is a fire element is highlighted. Makes it easier for finding things that you're looking for, or if you're looking for in the future equipment skills, let's say, like I said, guard. I click on this. Now everything that has the guard skill is here, and it's highlighted, and I can select these and have them added to my lineup, and I can use them or swap to them whenever I want. That is pretty much it. Most of the decorations, like I said, and skill-related things, I'll make another video describing them. If there's something that you think that I missed here that's very important, please let me know. Talismans, like I said, is part of skills, so I'll make another video and include that in there as well. But thanks for watching. If, again, you thought that I missed something or there's some important information, or if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Just comment down below and I'll do what I can. Well, thanks a lot for watching and enjoy the hunt. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye now.